Upholding an open, inclusive international trade environment that is beneficial to all serves the common interests of all parties. All parties have the responsibility to play a constructive role in maintaining the stability and security of global critical mineral industrial and supply chains. At the same time, we also oppose any country forming small groups to disrupt international economic and trade order. On the phone conversation between President Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump, and also on the virtual meeting between President Xi and President Putin, China has released readouts. On the issue related to nuclear weapons, China has always been extremely prudent and responsible. China follows a defensive nuclear strategy, a policy of no first use of nuclear weapons, and has pledged unconditionally not to use or threaten to use nuclear weapons against non-nuclear weapon states or nuclear weapon-free zones. CCTV China on multiple occasions stated its statements on Panama's Supreme Court's ruling that C.K. Hutchinson's concession on the two ports of the Panama Canal is unconstitutional, and said that China will firmly defend the legitimate and lawful rights and interests of Chinese companies. What will China do, and has China communicated with Panama on the operation of the ports? China has more than once stated its position on issues related to the Panama Canal ports. Yesterday, the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council of China said in an article that the ruling of the Panama Supreme Court disregards facts and is an act of bad faith. The article stated that the ruling severely undermined the lawful rights and interests of the company from China's Hong Kong, and stressed that the Chinese government firmly defends the legitimate and lawful rights and interests of Chinese companies. You may refer to the article for more information. Also from CCTV.
In response to Panama's Supreme Court ruling, C.K. Hutchinson said yesterday in a press release that it strongly disagrees with the ruling, would launch international arbitration, and reserves the right to recourse to additional legal proceedings. What's China's comment? I've made clear China's position just now. China will firmly defend the legitimate and lawful rights and interests of Chinese companies. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。RT 禁止俄罗斯记者提问。
On February 4th, as China marks the traditional Chinese solar term starts of spring, the leaders of Russia and China held a video call. According to Vushakov, President Putin accepted the invitation from the Chinese leader and plans to visit China in the first half of 2026. Could the Chinese side provide more information?
Yesterday, President Xi Jinping had a virtual meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. They had an in-depth exchange of views on bilateral relations and on international regional hotspot issues of mutual interest. The two presidents of China and Russia always maintain strategic communication via various means to chart the steady development of China-Russia relations in the new era.
Can I follow up on that? Chinese leader held telephone conversations with Russian President Putin and U.S. President Trump on the same day. How would China evaluate the significance and outcomes of these two telephone conversations? Does this imply that the three major countries are coordinating their positions on international issues?
President Xi Jinping had a virtual meeting with President Putin and spoke with U.S. President Donald Trump on the phone, which are arrangements agreed by China and Russia and between China and the U.S. according to the schedule of the three countries' leaders. On the specifics of the two head of state interactions, China has released detailed information, which you may refer to. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人，NHK 提问，美俄之间。
New starts expire today. Is this discussed during the call between China, Russia, and the United States? What's China's comments on the expiration of this treaty? Do you think that is it necessary to include China in arms control, and how will China play its role as a major country in this matter?
Could you please repeat your question?
提问。
New START expired today. During yesterday's phone conversation between China and the US and between China and Russia, did China express its position? And on the termination of the treaty, what is China's comment? US said that it is necessary to establish an arms control framework that includes China. What is China's position on that? And on arms control, how will China play its role as a major country?
关于
On the phone conversation between President Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump, and also on the virtual meeting between President Xi and President Putin, China has released readouts. On the issue related to nuclear weapons, China has always been extremely prudent and responsible. China follows a defensive nuclear strategy, a policy of no first use of nuclear weapons, and has pledged unconditionally not to use or threaten to use nuclear weapons against non-nuclear weapon states or nuclear weapon-free zones. China always keeps its nuclear capabilities at the minimal level required by national security and has no intention to have any arms race with any country. China always advocates that advancing nuclear disarmament must follow the principles of upholding global strategic stability and non-diminished security for all. China's nuclear strength is not at the same level with that of the US and Russia. China will not be part of the nuclear disarmament talks at the current stage. Also on the New START treaty that you mentioned, let me stress that China finds the expiration of the New START treaty between the US and Russia regrettable. The New START treaty is of great significance to upholding global strategic stability. The international community concerns that the expiration of the treaty will impose negative influence on the international nuclear disarmament system and the global nuclear order. Russia has proposed that Russia and the US needs to follow the central limits of the treaty. After it expires, China calls on the US to make active response and have dialogue with Russia, resume dialogue with Russia on strategic stability. This is also what the world hopes to see. Next one, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Question from AFP. French authorities have arrested 4 people, including 2 Chinese nationals, who are suspected of spying on sensitive military data for Beijing. The 2 Chinese nationals allegedly traveled to France with the intent to capture data from the Starlink satellite internet system and other entities of vital importance and transmit the data back to China. Does the foreign ministry have a comment on this? Thank you.
外交部对此有何回应？ I'm not familiar with what you mentioned. Let me say more broadly that China rejects malign vilification and smears against China and asks relevant party to earnestly protect the lawful rights and interests of Chinese nationals. Next one, please.
Hi, Dan Murtaugh with Bloomberg.
彭博社 在习主席和特朗普通话后，特朗普表示，习主席将于今年年底访美，外交部能否确认此事？能否提供更多细节？
中美两
The presidents of China and the U.S. maintain communication and interactions. On the specifics that you mentioned, I have nothing to share at the moment.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。澎湃新闻提问：据报道，香港美国商会日前发布了
The paper is reported that days ago, the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong released its 2026 survey. American companies in Hong Kong are increasingly optimistic and confident that Hong Kong's business environment and prospects will get better. What's your comment? I noted the report. According to the survey, 86% of respondents believe that Hong Kong is a competitive international business hub. 92% have no plans to relocate their headquarters away from Hong Kong, and 94% express confidence in Hong Kong's rule of law. These numbers demonstrate American companies' growing confidence in Hong Kong's prospect and business environment. Hong Kong is now at a new stage where it is set to thrive. Hong Kong's economy has flourished, and its status as a hub in international finance, trade, and shipping has been consolidated. It has also stayed among the top in multiple global rankings. The fourth plenary session of the 2020 CPC Central Committee put forward a series of important measures to promote long-term prosperity and stability in Hong Kong. Going forward, Hong Kong will enjoy broader prospects, and China believes that more and more American and other foreign companies will invest and do business in Hong Kong and benefit from Chinese modernization and one country, two systems. Next one, please.
谢谢代言人韩联社提。
Yonhap News Agency. United States today officially established a trade alliance on core mineral supply chain. The ROK will serve as the chair. What's China's comment on that?
维护开放
Upholding an open, inclusive international trade environment that is beneficial to all serves the common interests of all parties. All parties have the responsibility to play a constructive role in maintaining the stability and security of global critical mineral industrial and supply chains. At the same time, we also oppose any country forming small groups to disrupt international economic and trade order.